Oh, come on! The Kia Seltos is one of the first normal cars I featured on my channel. And finally, after 3 years, Kia Philippines have lent me out one. Now in this facelifted SX Turbo, guys. Of course, being a facelifted model, you get some subtle changes here in the face itself. And you get a new set of LED lights. And I love the DRL matches that of the Kia badge itself. And don't worry, this is a Kia, not a KN. And I have fell for that as well before. The ground clearance is 190 millimeters, which is pretty tall in this segment. And I can't believe I'm saying this. Here on the side profile, it's the usual subcompact crossover look. And along to with the cladding. Now, the cladding, I will praise it for once because it did a good job of protecting the paint. I had a lend out of this during a very rainy, stormy week, and it passed with flying colors. And as well, apologies, I did not done a car wash because today was the only time that it didn't rain during the time of this shoot. So anyways, the Seltos SX Turbo is running on 17-inch two-tone alloy wheels. And remember, if you go for the lower grade models like the Seltos EX and LX models, they're still 17 inches, but it's just only a one-tone black finish. Powering this Kia Seltos SX Turbo is a 1.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that produces 140 horsepower and 242 Newton meters of torque. Oh, thank God, the sun went away for a while. And this one is mated to a 7-speed dual clutch transmission. So a bit of an interesting take now what Kia have done here, because the previous facelifted model, which I praised a lot back in the day, that was running on an IVT transmission. And don't worry, those transmissions are still available in the EX and the LX models, but those are running on a bigger displacement at 1.5 liters, but without the turbocharger itself. And as you can hear on camera, it's kind of loud for a 4-cylinder, and more on that, on how this performs later on once we get the drive of this. And again, compared to the latter, this has 8 horsepower less and a whopping 63 Newton meters more. So expect this to have a very, very peppy drive. And with this powertrain combo, this faces stiff competition. And with the likes of the GAC M-Zoom, Hyundai Creta, Kia Tiggo 5X Pro, Honda HR-V, and more lately, the Chevrolet Trunks, and amongst a sea of Chinese vehicles. Let's see how this stacks up. And here now at the rear of this Kia Seltos SX Turbo, to attest on how much I was able to use this car. Yeah, apologies, it's really, really dirty. But as you can see, once again, the cladding did its job on protecting literally everything. And yes, I was not kind to cladding before on SUVs. However, once you open the boot up, oh, by the way, this has a full functioning LED light bar, which I like a lot. So the total boot space here is 468 liters. This is actually, if not mistaken, one of the biggest ones in this class. And you get cubby spaces on either side. Halogen light here only at the left side, and a space here for a tonneau cover. But sadly, the Seltos is not equipped with this tonneau cover as standard. But makes up for it, you get a full-size spare tire. How about that? That's pretty rare now in this class. And once you fold all of the seats down now, it totals at 1,428 liters, which means you can fit a 6-layer cabinet with ease. And putting up, as I mentioned, the cladding did this job of protecting the paint, and just slide it in. Pretty easy. And I assume the only one in this class. So of course, once you put the seat back up, you assume that the seatbelt will get eaten. But there's a very small space here for the seatbelt, and that means you can access this with ease. Look at that. Kia have done a good job with the ergonomics so far with this vehicle. And for once to start here in the back seats, so here in the door card, you get this nice texture once again for the speakers, cubby spaces, cup holders on either side. Well, I'll say my nitpicks later on once we get in the front, but at least you get leather soft pads for your elbow. And what I like too with this Kia Seltos Turbo is the amount of space over here. I mean, yeah, I can't stretch my head all the way forward, but hey, the knee room is quite a lot. And headroom, despite the sunroof, I have like, what, 4 to 5 inches left of headroom, which is pretty good. So around 6 footers will still be safe here at the rear. And just few toys here as well. You get 2 map pockets on either side, and here in the middle, 2 air conditioning vents, a cubby space, and 1 USB-C port, which we found handy during our trips to Pampanga earlier this week. And if I sit here in the middle, So the cushion is just as soft as the left and right side of the seat. The transmission tunnel is pretty wide, but it's just a little bit of an awkward angle, as you can see. But it's very much tolerable. That's just me doing my kuting-ting nitpicking. Anyways, yeah, the aircon is pretty handy because there are some brands, like I think with the Chang'an CS35, which as well is a competitor of this, is just one aircon vent. This one at least is two, so you don't have a lot of fights here with all of your friends and family members. And as well, isofix anchor points on either side, and here in the middle, central armrest with two cup holders and with a little space right in the middle. Now finally, here in front of this Kia Seltos SX Turbo, here in the door card, pretty much the same as the one at the rear. That's the first time I said that. Joking aside, more speaker with the texture once again, but the tweeter setup is located here only up front. Door pads here as well, they're leather as well, which is pretty nice. And visually overall, this is what I like too with the facelift model, because there's a lot of changes. And one honest thought only, there's a lot of plastics here and there, which again, I'm not a big fan of the interior, but visually it makes up for it with the two screen setup for your instrument cluster and for your 10.25-inch infotainment system with wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. This is one of the best infotainment systems we've encountered so far. Everything's pretty smooth, like in either Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. There's not much pixelations too with the icons, and yeah, the maps is pretty crystal clear. I had not any much trouble, example only like with that of the Chevrolet Trax. So here on the left side, despite being top of the line model, you get blanks, but you get for your headlight leveler adjustment and your electronic stability control. And like that of the Kia Carnival, which I just did a review of, once you turn the electronic stability control off, well, it's not fully off, it only says limited, but in case you have a wheel spin or get out of control, it will fully activate. Steering wheel, pretty much the same with every other Kia. Now you get your phone connectivity and radio functions on the left side, and your advanced driver assistance systems here on the right side. So yes, this has adaptive cruise control. I have no issues with this whatsoever. And like with its little brother, the Kia Sonet, this has a lane departure warning. It even reads faded road lines, which is very, very good. This is so far one of the best ones I've encountered so far. Yes, you may have Kia SmartWise driver assistance systems, but there's some features that are lacking that I have observed. There is no blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, and a 360-degree camera. Although this one has at least a reverse camera with dynamic guidelines and a top-down view. But I only mentioned this because I expected this Kia Seltos to have those features at this price point. More on that later on. And below the infotainment system itself, you get your climate control functions, and exclusive for the Seltos SX Turbo top of the line model, you get a dual zone climate control function, which I found really handy during my trips to the racetrack, to Pampanga for example. And yeah, the aircon is pretty flawless. It got cold pretty quickly, even though this media unit is not equipped with tint whatsoever. And touch sensitive controls here, which I again am not a fan of, because I wish there were physical buttons, but in the end, in my time I've had this, I've just controlled it all here in the infotainment system, so I didn't bother using this anymore. So glove box, okay, pretty decent. And below the climate control functions, you get a 12-volt socket, a USB port, and a wireless charging pad. So this is the only place where you can put a USB type A connection, not the C kind, which I find a little bit odd because the rest, like the ones at the rear, is as well a C. So the wireless charging pad is a little bit slow, but in our experience, at least it still charges. And here in the center console itself, you get your gear shift with a nice digital display, although there is no manual mode, which I find really, really odd with this vehicle. You get auto hold functions, again, for your reverse camera button. Seat ventilations, now this I am a big fan of, since most of these cars in this segment don't have this feature. Example, again, with the Chevrolet Trax, and I think with some of the JC models and Cherry models. You can correct me in the comments down below, don't worry. And open this tray up, you get two cup holders. And now, what I mentioned from the rear, yes, you still have cubby spaces and cup holders on either side, but if I get my tumbler, none of them fit wherever, even like 1 liter bottles, which is, I find quite disappointing because I ended up putting all here on the floor and it just flies around, which is sad. And here in the center console, it's enough for one Skyflakes and another USB Type-C connection. And the seats here are all leather. It's all black with white stitching. Again, a lot of holes for the seat ventilations. And oh yeah, this one's another addition to with this facelift model. You get a knob here for your drive modes. So you get your traction mode, snow, mud, and sand. I did use the mud quite a lot during the stormy days. And if you press it and switch it again, you get Eco, Comfort, Smart, and Sport mode. Now, to counter not having manual mode, if you're going to a really steep parking ramp, I suggest put it to sport mode because it will hang on the gear, on first gear rather, a lot longer than usual. And above here, you get your LED lights and controls for the sunroof itself. Now, I'm a big fan of this because some vehicles in this class don't have their sunroof stretched all the way to the rear passengers, just like here on the front side only. But for this Kia, at least, this is a big plus of this vehicle. That's what I like. And something too with the infotainment system, you get the Sounds of Nature, which was first present in the Kia EV6 and passed later to future models. And you get your sound mood lamp. So there's a lot of themes you can do. And for the first time, I've encountered this since I had it for quite a while. Once you play any music, even from radio or from your Spotify music, the sound mood lamps match the music itself. That's a pretty nice gimmick. And for your radio functions, oh yeah, it's your usual radio, but I like there's like Jacob SEM lamps once you toggle all of these stations itself. Now driving the Kia Seltos SX Turbo, a lot has been changed with this facelifted model, as I mentioned. Given we get a different powertrain, is it better? Well, more or less. The 7-speed DCT is actually very good for highway driving. However, here on city driving, yeah, you can notice the jerkiness of this vehicle. I mean, it's not as bad as you think, but you cannot help to notice it. I mean, here from a stop with auto hold function on, and then if you just wanna go like so, there you can see me lumping forwards and backwards. Yeah, this is a common trait of crossovers with dual clutch transmissions. The steering feel, I can't believe I'm saying this for the first time ever, it's numb. It's very light with no feedback whatsoever. However, it will be good, of course, for first-time buyers or as a first car in general. But once you go faster, like on spirited highway driving, it does weigh up at least. So at least there's some sense of security, even though this has a very light steering feel. The Seltos as well runs on a McPherson strap up front with stabilizers and a torsion beam setup for the rear. The ride is a bit of an odd one, to be honest. In my observation, the spring rate is a little bit too hard, but the dampers are a bit softer than I expected. And when I drove this during my race a couple of days ago in to Pampanga International Circuit, I noticed the car bounced a lot on highway. Take note, that was just on uneven surfaces of road. Of course, when it's flat like here around in Green Hills, you won't notice the bounciness of this vehicle. But I find that really odd, having driven a lot of cars there recently. That's the first time I've encountered this bounciness on a vehicle. The star of the show of this Seltos SX Turbo is definitely the engine. Here, sport mode, a bit of delay once you... Whoa! Right. So comparing only with the pre-facelift model, this is, just being honest, a little bit punchier and faster only. Remember, you only have 8 horsepower less, but again, a whopping 63 Newton meters more of torque. You can feel the difference between the power. However, though, it's not as much as I expected. So as you all know, I am very biased with the Seltos Korean-made model because it has the 2-liter NA engine and it was really flawless on how this drives. I mean, make no mistake, this Seltos SX Turbo is pretty good as well, but I don't feel it's dictating to me 242 Newton meters of torque because, again, I partly blame this transmission. Yes, there is no manual mode. That's my biggest nitpick with this vehicle. But I don't know why. It may be just the throttle delay. Like here, just normal when you just for it. Yeah, there's like a a second or two delay only, I'll be honest, the transmission is just a little bit of a letdown. And the NVH of this Kia Seltos is somewhat, again, a bit of an odd one because here at a standstill, despite to being a four-cylinder engine, you can notice the engine vibrations here in the cabin, like here on the steering wheel and as well during a cold start. But the rest, like tire noise and highway noise, like wind noise, no issue whatsoever. I just noticed the insulation in the engine is just a little bit weird. And once again, being the theme of this review with the Seltos, a bit of an odd one, the fuel economy in heavy payday traffic, it's not that great, to be honest. The worst I got was 7.1 kilometers per liter. And then if you're lucky enough, you can max out at 10.6 kilometers per liter, which is pretty good, I have to say. But knowing I live here around in the city, yeah, expect this Seltos Turbo to be a little bit more thirstier than usual. And if I recall as well, the NA engines, the Seltos EX and LX models, were doing the same fuel economy reading. So yeah, you have to take note of that. And on highway driving, on an eco run for once, at constant 80 km per hour pace, you can hit 20.7 kilometers per liter easily. But the best I got was 21.5 kilometers per liter. How about that? Now, I will forgive the DCT for this since this has 7 gears. So it does gear hunt in eco mode and normal mode, but it does make up for it for fuel economy, which actually impressed me a lot. However, though, if you're at the constant national speed limit at 100 kilometers per hour, you can only do around 14 to 16 kilometers per liter. Being honest, that's the same fuel economy figures that you get in my car, in my previous daily car rather. But again, driving in this on the highway is pretty top-notch because you get a very peppy and fun engine, I have to say. And eco mode was the mode that I used a lot with the Seltos because, I mean, despite to having the 1 or 2 second delay, it does help a lot with the fuel economy. It extends the fuel range to around, 10 to 15 kilometers only, but that's still, hey, saving a lot of, fuel and money. And again, with this Seltos SX Turbo, what I can commend though, compared with the previous one, yeah, there's a lot of motorcycle passing by, again, with the NVH being so-so, the Turbo is really fun. So if I flow it, woo! But the best mode for this Kia Seltos Turbo is definitely Smart Mode. Although I didn't use it quite a lot, but I tried it once. It drove really well. So it was kind of acting like in eco mode in the city. And if you want to overtake, it was a little bit more responsive now than usual, which made up for the loss of the fuel economy. But again, I was just majority in eco mode only. As for the price of this Kia Seltos SX Turbo, this stands at 1,688,000 pesos, which is a bit hefty, to be honest. And there are some cars in this class where this Seltos excels, but if you're willing to forgive the flaws of this vehicle, you should take the chance of buying this Kia Seltos because overall, despite my nitpicks and some, again, missing features with this vehicle, this is still a great car to drive overall. And again, the highlight being the 1.4-liter turbo engine. Wow, you get to the national speed limit quite quickly, and that is the forward collision warning doing its thing and just keeping me in check with the car in front. So that concludes my lend out review of this Kia Seltos SX Turbo. So once again, I would like to thank Kia Philippines for lending me out this vehicle and the first Kia lend out on my channel, and more to come. So stay tuned for that. So hope you guys like and subscribe, and I will see you with more future Kia reviews. Bye-bye. Yes, guys, this is how I review. I let them make them go out of the car